Hello, my name is Jeff from Pisces Pet Emporium, and today we're going to be going over the general care and tank setup for what is, in my opinion, one of the coolest lizards in the animal kingdom, the red-eye crocodile skink. The first thing that you're going to notice about these guys is pretty self-explanatory. They have the bright red orangish rings around the eyes and the crocodile spikes going down the back. In my opinion, the croc skink almost looks more like a dragon than a crocodile. We mentioned these guys in our last video for the sandfish skink, so I figured it would be a good idea to follow up on them. And they are just one of the most fantastic lizards you'll ever have the pleasure of keeping. So we'll start off here just by talking a little bit about the crocodile skink. These guys have a strong, girthy body and are sporting a small pair of stout legs. The red-eye croc skink, in my opinion, is one of the most perfect sized lizards, clocking in at an average of 8 to 10 centimeters from the snout to the vent. Not too big, not too small. In the wild, they can be found hiding under forest debris near water from Papua New Guinea to the Solomon Islands. They are crepuscular, meaning that they are most active during dusk and dawn. So if you want to have any chance at trying to see them or catch them in the act of feeding, those are the times to do it. As you may have already figured out, it derives most of its common name, crocodile skink, from its 4 rows of dorsal, backward, curving, keeled scales, each one tapering to a point which resemble the dorsal scales of a crocodile. Alright, now let's talk about enclosures and this tank that I have set up here. What I have here is a 10-gallon open-top terrarium for display. Ideally, what you want to use for your croc skink is a 20-gallon low Exoterra front opening terrarium. The reason that you would want to use a front opening terrarium is that you want to be able to cover about 75% of the mesh on top with either glass or some foil to help keep in humidity. The Exoterra medium low is perfect for 1 or 2 skinks. For groups, you would want no less than an 18 by 36 footprint or the large low. The more hiding spots and foliage you have in your tank, the happier your little guy is going to be. They like to hide. By scattering some sphagnum moss, oak leaves, and turtle pebbles around the terrarium, it helps create a more natural look, and it also helps kind of stimulate them to different textures. Now, when it comes to substrate, a deeper substrate base will help you retain a higher relative humidity in your enclosure, which is very important for these guys. I recommend starting your tank with a base of hydro balls, followed by a sheet of mesh, and finally 2 to 3 inches of rectisoil. Finally, you should provide a water dish and a deep enough food dish, like a ramekin, so the grub does not escape. One of the reasons that I love crocodile skinks is they do not require any additional heat. Unless your home is very cold, these guys typically do better in the colder side than the warmer side, much like a Chinese cave gecko. Even though these guys spend most of their day hiding, I would still recommend that you use a low-level UVB bulb to light your terrarium. The UVB bulb will help promote plant growth and aid in the tank's ecosystem, especially if you decide to go bioactive. And just make sure that your lights are on for no more than about 10 to 12 hours a day. Humidity is very important for these little guys. If you want to keep them happy and healthy, you could say they like it really wet. Even though they do not require any heat, I highly recommend adding a under-tank heater to one side of the terrarium. This will evaporate the water that is amongst the hydro balls, increasing humidity as well as preventing stagnant water from accumulating. You will want to have a mist king or a reptifogger set up, otherwise you're going to be misting until your hand explodes. Ideally, humidity is 70 to 80%, and use a hygrometer in your tank to check your humidity levels. Croc skinks are insectivores and feed on a simple diet of various grub like crickets, superworms, and dubia roaches if permitted in your country. It's always very important to gut load your grub. What we're trying to accomplish by gut loading is to mimic the food chain by feeding your insects a proper diet. That proper diet will in turn be passed on to your reptile. And to give them a little extra boost, powder every feeding or every other feeding with Repashy Calcium Plus. Now, when it comes to handleability, these guys generally prefer not to be handled, unfortunately, which can be kind of a shame because when you handle them, it is probably the only time you'll ever be able to see them. They're actually pretty easy to hold, mainly because they play dead when you pick them up, but be wary because they can still bolt at the first opportunity they see to escape, so we would advise that you do not let children handle these skinks. It's okay to show your friends and family when they come over that you own one of the coolest skinks in the known world, but just make sure that the visit is brief. So that about sums it up. I hope you enjoyed my rambling about this amazing creature. If you have any more in-depth questions, you can shoot us a message on Facebook at Pisces Pet Emporium, or simply drop us a line below in the comments. Thanks for joining.